Admiral Sarah Chun stood at the window of Kepler Station and watched the alien ships leave. Their strange shapes moved slowly through space, getting smaller until they were just dots of light. The war was over. 15 years of fighting had finally ended with papers signed and promises made. But Sarah felt no joy as she watched them go. The station was quiet now. Just hours ago, it had been full of diplomats from both sides. Humans and aliens had sat around a big table, talking about peace. The aliens had 4 different species in their group. The Krathan looked like giant insects with 6 arms. The Vorthak were tall and thin with gray skin. The Nexari had blue scales and sharp teeth. The Domak were the worst. They looked almost human, but their eyes were completely black. Sarah had sat through every meeting. She had listened to every word. The treaty gave humanity some good things. The aliens would give back 3 human colonies. They would pay money to rebuild the worlds they had destroyed. They promised not to attack human space again. On paper, it looked like humans had won something important, but Sarah knew better. She had read the secret files. She knew what the aliens had really been doing during the war. Behind her, the door opened. Commander Marcus Webb walked in. His face still showed scars from his time as a prisoner. 3 years and alien hands had changed him. He was thinner now, and his eyes held a hardness that had not been there before the war. "The last transport just left," Marcus said. "All the alien diplomats are gone." Sarah nodded but did not turn around. "Tell me about the files again, Marcus. I want to hear it one more time." Marcus moved to stand beside her. He looked out at the empty space where the alien ships had been. "We found the records on Vorthak Prime when we took it back last year. Medical files, research data, experiment, logs, everything." Sarah finally turned to face him. "And what did those files tell us?" "That this war was never about winning," Marcus said. His voice was quiet but angry. "They were studying us. Every battle, every strategy we used, every time we tried to save civilians instead of winning quickly, they were watching and learning." Sarah walked to her desk and picked up a datapad. The screen showed pictures of human prisoners, men and women who had been captured during the war. Many of them had never come home. "They took our people," she said, "not just to use as workers or to trade back later. They wanted to understand how we think, how we feel, how we make decisions." Marcus's hands became fists. "The medical experiments, the brain scans, the genetic samples. They were trying to find our weakness." "And did they find it?" Sarah asked. "They think they did." Marcus pointed to another file on the pad. "Their final report says humans are too emotional. We care too much about individual lives. We will not sacrifice a few to save many. They think this makes us weak in war." Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "They think we are weak because we try to save everyone. Yes, their report says humans can be beaten if you force them to choose between winning and saving lives. They think we will always choose to save lives, even if it means losing the war." Sarah set down the datapad and walked back to the window. Space looked peaceful now. Stars shined in the darkness. It was hard to believe that just hours ago, enemy ships had been out there. "The aliens fought this war for 15 years, she said. "Not because they had to, not because they wanted our worlds. They could have won much faster if they had tried. But they wanted to learn about us first. They wanted to know how to beat us completely next time," Marcus said. "This peace treaty is just a break for them. They plan to attack again when they are ready." Sarah turned back to Marcus. "But they made a mistake, didn't they?" Marcus smiled for the first time in months. "Yes, Admiral, they made a big mistake." "Tell me." "They think our emotions make us weak. They think caring about people makes us bad at war. But they do not understand something important." "What is that?" "Humans are most dangerous when they are angry. Really, truly angry. And nothing makes humans angrier than someone hurting the people they care about." Sarah nodded slowly. "For 15 years, we fought to protect our colonies. We fought to save lives. We held back because we did not want to become monsters. But now we know the truth." She picked up another datapad. This one showed the faces of human prisoners who had died in alien experiments, children who had been taken from their families, soldiers who had been tortured not for information but for research. They studied us like we were animals, Sarah said. They thought they were so much smarter than us. They thought they could learn all our secrets and then destroy us when they were ready. Marcus walked to the door and locked it. What they were about to discuss could not be heard by anyone else. A colonial development course, he said. Is it ready? Sarah smiled again. This time the smile was cold and sharp. 5 years of planning. 5 years of putting the right people in the right places. Yes, Marcus, it is ready. And the other projects? Dr. Vasquez has been busy. She has found some very interesting things. About alien biology? Things that the aliens do not know we know. Marcus sat down in a chair across from Sarah's desk. What about the new soldiers? Training is going well. Turns out that the things the aliens think are weaknesses can be turned into strengths. Who would have thought? Sarah sat down at her desk and opened a locked drawer. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a list of names, human names. These were people who had volunteered for something very dangerous. The aliens think they understand. US now, she said. They think they know how humans fight wars. They think they know how we think and what we will do. But they are wrong, Marcus said. Very wrong. They studied how we fight when we are trying to be good. When we are trying to save lives and protect the innocent. When we are holding back because we do not want to become the monsters. Sarah stood up and walked to a safe in the corner of her room. She entered a long code and opened it. Inside were more files, plans that had been made in secret, strategies that no alien spy could imagine. They never studied what happens when humans stop trying to be good, she said. They never learned what we do when we decide that our enemy needs to be stopped forever. Marcus stood up too. When do we begin? Sarah looked at the clock on the wall. The aliens think they have 10 years to prepare for their next attack. They think they can spend that time building stronger weapons and bigger fleets. How long? Do we really have? As long as we need. Because we are not going to wait for them to attack us again. We are going to make sure they never can. Sarah closed the safe and turned to face Marcus. The war ended today, Commander. The aliens think they won something. They think they learned our secrets and now they can destroy us whenever they want. Marcus smiled, but our revenge is just beginning. Yes, and when we are finished, they will understand something important about humans. We do care about individual lives. We do try to save everyone. We do hold back in war because we want to stay human. Sarah walked back to the window and looked out at the stars. But when someone threatens everything we care about, when someone hurts our people just to study us like animals, when someone thinks they can destroy us because we are too kind, she paused and her voice became very quiet. That is when they learn why the universe should be afraid of angry humans. The stars looked peaceful in the darkness, but Sarah knew that peace would not last long. The aliens had made their choice when they decided to study humanity like a science experiment. Now they would learn what humans really were when they stopped holding back. The war was over. But the real fight was about to begin. 5 years had passed since the treaty was signed at Kepler Station. To anyone watching, humanity seemed to be healing from the war. New colonies were being built on worlds that had been destroyed. Trade ships moved between human and alien space. Diplomats from both sides met regularly to discuss small problems and keep the peace, but Admiral Sarah Chun knew the truth. Every new colony, every trade mission, every diplomatic meeting was part of a much larger plan. She stood in her office on Earth, looking at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed alien worlds. Blue dots showed human settlements. To most people, it would look like normal expansion after a war. But Sarah could see the real pattern. Commander Marcus Webb entered the room carrying a stack of reports. His scars had faded over the years, but his eyes still held the hard look of someone who had seen too much. The latest updates from the field, Marcus said, setting the reports on Sarah's desk. Operation New Dawn is ahead of schedule, Sarah smiled. Operation New Dawn was not its real name, of course. The real operation had no official name at all. It existed only in the minds of a few hundred people spread across human space. "Tell me about Rigel 7, Sarah said. Marcus picked up one of the reports. "The farming colony is now fully established. 2,000 settlers, all volunteers who know exactly what they signed up for. The Krathen think it is just another human agricultural world. And underneath, manufacturing facilities are complete. We can produce everything we need without anyone knowing. The orbital station looks like a simple communications relay, but it can coordinate activities across 6 star systems." Sarah nodded and pointed to another blue dot on the map. "What about the mining operation on Vega Prime?" "Even better. We are officially mining rare metals for trade with the aliens, but what we are really doing is building a logistics hub. We can move supplies and people to any world in this sector within 3 days." Sarah walked closer to the holographic map. The blue dots seemed random, but they were not. Each human settlement was placed exactly where it needed to be. Some were close to important alien worlds. Others controlled key trade routes. A few were positioned to watch alien military bases. "The aliens still think they understand us," Sarah said. "Their reports say humans are predictable. We build farms and mines. We focus on trade and peaceful expansion. We avoid conflict." Marcus laughed quietly. "If only they knew what our farmers and miners are really doing." The door chimed and Dr. Elena Vasquez entered. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Before the war, she had studied alien biology to help humans understand their neighbors. Now, she studied it for very different reasons. "Admiral, I have the results you wanted," Elena said. She set a datapad on the desk. Sarah picked it up and looked at the screen. It showed detailed diagrams of alien physiology. "Tell me what you found." "The Krathen rely completely on a specific chemical compound in their food," Elena said. "Without it, they cannot process nutrients properly. They will starve even if they eat constantly. Can we disrupt their supply of this compound? Easily. It comes from a type of algae that only grows on 3 worlds. If those algae die, every Krathen in the galaxy will face starvation within 6 months." Sarah handed the pad to Marcus. "What about the others?" Elena sat down in a chair. "The Vorthek are even more vulnerable. Their entire computer network uses biological components, tiny living cells that process information. I have developed a virus that targets those cells specifically. How long would it take to spread through their system? Once introduced, it would reach every Vorthek computer in the galaxy within weeks. Their ships, their cities, their communication networks, everything would stop working." Marcus looked up from the datapad. "And the Nexari?" "They have a weakness in their water purification systems," Elena said. "They use the same technology on every world. A small change in the chemical balance would make their water toxic to them, but harmless to other species." Sarah felt a cold satisfaction. The aliens had spent years studying human weaknesses, but they had never imagined that humans might study their weaknesses in return. "What about the Domak?" Sarah asked. Elena's expression became serious. "They are the most dangerous. Their biology is closest to ours. But they have one critical flaw. Their immune system cannot handle certain human diseases. Something as simple as a common cold could kill them." Sarah walked back to her desk and sat down. "How many people know about your research?" "Just the 3 of us and 5 scientists who help with specific parts. They do not know the complete picture." "Good, keep it that way." Marcus set down the datapad and looked at the galaxy map. "What about Webb's training program?" Sarah pressed a button on her desk. The holographic map changed to show a different view. Now it displayed the locations of secret training facilities hidden across human space. "Commander Webb has been busy," Sarah said. "Tell Dr. Vasquez about the new soldiers." Marcus stood up and walked to the map. "We call it the integration protocol. We are training soldiers to use human emotions as weapons instead of weaknesses." Elena looked confused. "How do you weaponize emotions?" The aliens think caring about people makes us weak in battle, Marcus explained. But what if we use that caring to make us stronger? What if knowing that we are fighting to protect our families makes us fight harder instead of holding back? Sarah nodded. The old military doctrine said soldiers should control their emotions, stay calm and think logically. But humans are not logical creatures. We are emotional creatures. When we embrace that instead of fighting it, we become something the aliens cannot predict. Marcus pointed to one of the training facilities. We have squads that fight with perfect coordination because they genuinely care about each other. They do not just follow orders, they anticipate what their teammates need. The aliens have never seen anything like it. And the infiltration teams? Sarah asked. Even better. The aliens look for human spies who are trying to blend in and act normal, but our people are not acting. They really are traders and researchers and cultural exchange students. They just happen to also be placing monitoring devices and gathering intelligence. Elena looked impressed. How many people are involved in this? Sarah thought carefully before answering. Active participants? About 50,000 across all operations. People who know something is happening, but not what? Maybe 200,000? Most of them think they are just doing their normal jobs. And how many know the complete plan? 12, Sarah said, including the three of us. Elena stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the busy streets of Earth's capital city. People were going about their normal lives. Children were playing in parks. Couples were walking together. Everything looked peaceful and ordinary. When will we be ready? Elena asked. Sarah and Marcus exchanged a look. They had been working toward this moment for 5 years. The infrastructure is almost complete, Sarah said. All the colonies are in place, all the supply lines are established. All the monitoring equipment is installed, Marcus nodded. The training programs will be finished within 6 months. Our people will be ready. And my biological weapons can be deployed whenever. You give the order? Elena added. Sarah looked at the galaxy map again. The red dots representing alien worlds seemed smaller now, less threatening. The blue dots representing human settlements looked like they were surrounding the red ones. The aliens think they have time, Sarah said. Their intelligence reports say humans are focused on peaceful rebuilding. They believe we will not be ready for another war for at least 20 years. How long do we actually need? Elena asked. Sarah smiled. We could begin tomorrow if we had to. But patience is part of the plan. The longer we wait, the more comfortable they become. The more they believe their own reports about human predictability. Marcus walked back to the desk and picked up another report. There is something else. Our monitoring stations have detected increased military activity in alien space. They are building new ships and training new soldiers. How long before they are ready to attack us again? Elena asked. According to their own communications, they plan to test our defenses in 3 years, Sarah said. If they think we are still weak, they will launch a full invasion 2 years after that. Elena looked worried. That does not give us much time. Sarah laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Dr. Vasquez, you misunderstand. We are not trying to be ready when they attack. We are planning to attack first, Marcus nodded. The aliens spent 15 years studying how humans fight defensive wars, how we react when we are trying to protect our homes and families. But they never studied how humans fight when we are hunting. Sarah stood up and walked to a wall display. She pressed a series of buttons and the screen showed a timeline. It started 5 years ago with the treaty signing and extended into the future. In 18 months we will be completely ready, she said. Every piece will be in place. Every person will know their role. Every weapon will be prepared. And then? Elena asked. Sarah turned to face her colleagues. And then the aliens will learn something new about human nature. They will learn what happens when humans stop trying to be the good guys. The room was quiet for a moment. Outside the window, the city continued its peaceful routine. But inside this room, 3 people were. 3 more years had passed. The galaxy looked peaceful from space. Ships moved between worlds carrying goods and passengers. Diplomatic meetings happened on schedule. Trade agreements were signed and renewed. The great powers seemed to live in harmony, but Admiral Sarah Chun could see what others could not. She stood in the command center of a space station that did not appear on any public star charts. Around her, dozens of screens showed information from across the galaxy. Human agents reported from alien worlds. Hidden sensors tracked enemy ship movements. Secret manufacturing facilities sent updates on production schedules. "Admiral, we have a problem," Commander Marcus Webb said as he entered the command center. His face was serious. Sarah turned away from the screens. "What kind of problem?" Marcus handed her a data tablet. "The Hegemony Council is meeting on Vorthek Prime." Our agent there managed to record their discussion. Sarah read the report quickly. Her expression grew darker with each line. "They are moving faster than we thought." "Yes, they originally planned to test our defenses next year. But their intelligence reports say human military strength is still weak. They want to move the timeline forward." Sarah set down the tablet and walked to the central display. It showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of colored dots representing ships, stations, and planets. "How much time do we have?" she asked. 6 months, Marcus said. "Maybe less. They are calling it a limited strike to test our response. But if we seem weak, they will launch the full invasion immediately." Sarah pressed a button and the display zoomed in on a section of space near the border between human and alien territory. Several human colonies were marked in blue. "They look small and defenseless. Which target are they considering?" Sarah asked. Marcus walked to the display and pointed to one of the blue dots. "New Geneva. It is a farming world with about 50,000 people. No military bases, no strategic value. They think it will be an easy victory." Sarah smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "New Geneva, how perfect." Marcus looked confused. "Admiral?" "Marcus, what do you know about New Geneva?" "It is one of our agricultural colonies. Established 4 years ago, they grow food crops and raise livestock. Very peaceful." Sarah laughed quietly. "That is what anyone looking at the records would think, but New Geneva is special. It was one of the first colonies established under Operation New Dawn." Marcus suddenly understood. The people there know what is really happening. "Every single person on New Geneva volunteered for a very dangerous job," Sarah said. "They knew that their world might be attacked. They knew they might have to sacrifice everything." Sarah pressed another button, and the display showed detailed information about New Geneva. Population records, agricultural reports, shipping manifests. Everything looked normal. "But look closer," Sarah said. The display changed to show underground facilities beneath the farming communities. Hidden manufacturing plants, concealed weapons storage, secret communication arrays. "New Geneva looks like a peaceful farming world," Sarah explained. "But it is really a military base disguised as a colony. The farmers are all former soldiers. The livestock pens hide missile launchers. The grain silos contain fusion reactors." Marcus stared at the display. "And the aliens have no idea. None at all. Their spies see happy farmers growing crops. Their sensors detect agricultural equipment and civilian communications. Everything confirms that New Geneva is exactly what it appears to be." Sarah walked to another control panel and opened a secure communication channel. "Dr. Vasquez, please report to the command center. Bring the deployment packages." Within minutes, Dr. Elena Vasquez arrived carrying a sealed case. Her hair was completely gray now, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "It is time?" Elena asked. Sarah nodded. "The aliens are moving faster than expected. We need to be ready." Elena set the case on a table and entered a complex code. Inside were dozens of small devices that looked like ordinary computer memory chips. "These contain the biological weapons we discussed," Elena said. "Each one is designed for a specific alien species. When activated, they will target the genetic weaknesses we discovered, Marcus picked up one of the devices. How do we get these to alien worlds? They are already there, Sarah said. Our traders and diplomats have been placing them for 2 years. They look like standard computer components. No one suspects anything. Elena pointed to different devices in the case. This one will destroy the Krathen food supply. This one will collapse the Vorthak computer network. This one will poison Nexari water systems. And this one will release human diseases that are deadly to the Domak. Sarah closed the case. But we will not use these unless we have no choice. The biological weapons are our final option. Marcus looked confused. Then how do we respond to their attack? Sarah walked back to a galaxy display. With a few commands, she changed the view to show something completely different. Now the map revealed the true scope of human preparations. Every human colony was connected by lines of communication and supply. Every trading post was revealed as a military staging area. Every diplomatic mission was shown as an intelligence-gathering operation. For 8 years, we have been building the largest coordinated military operation in galactic history, Sarah said. Every human settlement, every trade route, every diplomatic post is part of a single massive network. The display zoomed out to show the full picture. Human positions formed a web that stretched across the galaxy. They surrounded every major alien world. They controlled every important trade route. They monitored every military base. When the aliens attack New Geneva, they will trigger something they never imagined, Sarah continued. Not just a response from one human world or one human fleet. They will trigger a coordinated response from every human settlement in the galaxy. Marcus studied the display with growing amazement. Every colony will respond at the same time. Every colony, every trading post, every research station, every diplomatic mission, Sarah confirmed. In one moment, the aliens will discover that humanity has been preparing for this day since the treaty was signed. Elena looked worried. But what about the people on New Geneva? If the aliens attack, many of them will die. Sarah's expression became sad but determined. Every person on New Geneva knew this might happen when they volunteered. They are willing to make that sacrifice to protect the rest of humanity. And they will not die for nothing, Marcus added. Their sacrifice will trigger the end of the Hegemony Alliance. Sarah walked to a communication panel and opened channels to human commanders across the galaxy. Attention all operation leaders. This is Admiral Chun. Prepare for Phase 3 activation. We are moving to full readiness. Confirmations came back from dozens of locations. Remote farming worlds revealed hidden military commanders. Trading stations acknowledged with coded military responses. Cultural research missions confirmed they were ready for combat operations. How long until we are completely ready? Elena asked. 72 hours, Sarah said. Every piece of equipment will be in position. Every person will know their role. Every target will be confirmed. Marcus checked his own communication device. I am getting reports from our infiltration teams. Alien military forces are moving toward the border. They really are planning to attack soon. Sarah nodded. Good, let them come. Let them think they are surprising us with a quick strike against a defenseless farming world. She turned to address both of her colleagues. The aliens spent 15 years studying how humans fight when we are trying to protect ourselves. They learn how we respond to attacks on our territory. They think they understand our military capabilities and our decision-making process. But they never studied how humans fight when we are hunting, Marcus said. Exactly. They never learned what happens when humans decide that defense is not enough. When we decide that our enemy must be stopped completely and permanently. Elena looked at the galaxy display again. The web of human positions looked like a trap that had been carefully constructed over many years. What about civilian casualties? She asked. Both human and alien. Sarah's face became serious. We have spent 8 years evacuating people from areas that might become battlefields. Every human who wanted to leave dangerous areas has been relocated. As for alien civilians, she paused and looked at the biological weapons case. We will try to limit civilian deaths. But the aliens made their choice when they decided to treat us like laboratory animals. When they tortured our people for research. When they planned to destroy us completely. Marcus walked to the main communication console. Admiral, I am receiving an urgent message from our agent in the Hegemony fleet. What does it say? The attack on New Geneva has been approved. They will launch in 48 hours. Sarah felt a mix of anticipation and sadness. After 8 years of planning, the moment had finally arrived. Send a message to New Geneva, she ordered. Tell them it is time. Tell them the galaxy will remember their sacrifice. She turned to Elena. Prepare the biological weapons for deployment. We may not need them, but I want them ready. And the rest of our forces? Marcus asked. Sarah looked at the galaxy display one more time. Thousands of human positions glowed like stars in the darkness. Each one represented people who had worked and planned and sacrificed for this moment. The attack on New Geneva began at dawn on a Tuesday morning. The farmers were already working in their fields when the alien ships appeared in the sky. Dark shapes moved across the blue morning like storm clouds bringing death. Admiral Sarah Chun watched it happen from her command center. The screens showed everything in terrible detail. Krathan fighters swooped down over the farming communities. Vorthek bombers released their weapons on the small towns. Nixari ground troops landed near the main settlement. The Domac stayed in orbit, watching and recording everything for their research. Visual contact confirmed, reported Captain Lisa. Torres from New Geneva. Her voice was calm despite the explosions happening around her. Enemy forces are following predicted attack patterns. Sarah pressed the communication button. Acknowledged, Captain. Execute Defensive Protocol 7. On the screens, Sarah watched the people of New Geneva respond to the attack. But they did not run in panic like normal farmers would. Instead, they moved with military precision. The livestock pens opened to reveal hidden missile launchers. The grain silos split apart to show anti-aircraft weapons. The peaceful farming equipment transformed into military vehicles. The aliens looked surprised, Marcus Webb observed. He was standing next to Sarah, watching his own screens. They expected helpless civilians? They are getting a different kind of welcome, Sarah replied. The battle for New Geneva was fierce but brief. The colonists fought bravely, but they were outnumbered 10-1. Their hidden weapons destroyed many alien ships, but more kept coming. Within 6 hours, the main settlement was burning and alien forces controlled most of the planet. New Geneva is lost, Captain Torres reported. Her voice was weaker now. But we hurt them badly. They lost 60% of their attack force. Sarah felt pain in her chest. Good people were dying down there. People who had volunteered to sacrifice everything. For this moment. Captain, it is time for final protocol, Sarah said quietly. Understood, Admiral. It has been an honor serving with you. The communication went silent. Sarah knew that Captain Torres and her remaining people were now destroying all evidence of New Geneva's real purpose. The aliens would find only a farming colony that had fought harder than expected. They would never know they had just triggered the largest military operation in human history. Marcus was already at his communication station. Admiral, confirmations are coming in from across the galaxy. All stations report ready. Sarah looked at the main display. It showed the time in bright red numbers. In 30 minutes, every human settlement would receive the activation signal at exactly the same moment. Dr. Vasquez, are the biological weapons ready for deployment? Sarah asked. Elena was working at her own station, preparing the devices they might need. All packages are loaded and ready. But Admiral, once we use these, there will be no going back. Sarah nodded. I understand. But let us see what our conventional response accomplishes first. The alien fleet in orbit around New Geneva was celebrating their victory. Their communications, which human agents were monitoring, showed confidence and satisfaction. The Hegemony commanders were sending reports back to their homeworlds. They had tested human defenses and found them weak. The full invasion could begin immediately, but they had no idea what was about to happen. Sarah watched the countdown on the main display. 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. All stations confirm ready status, Marcus reported. 847 human settlements are standing by. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Execute Operation Sleeping Giant, Sarah commanded. Across the galaxy, something unprecedented happened. Every human settlement, every trading post, every research station, every diplomatic mission received the same signal at the same time. And, in response, they all acted as one on Rigel 7. The peaceful farming colony revealed massive weapon systems hidden beneath the fields. The farmers removed masks to show they were really elite soldiers. Within minutes, they had disabled the orbital defense platforms that protected 3 nearby alien worlds. At the mining operation on Vega Prime, workers opened sealed compartments in the asteroid processing facilities. Inside were warships that had been built in secret over 5 years. The mining ships launched and moved toward alien trade routes, the cultural exchange students on. Krathen worlds simultaneously released an engineered virus into the food distribution centers. The virus would not hurt the Krathen, but it would destroy the algae they needed to survive. Human traders across alien, space-activated hidden devices and computer systems they had been servicing for years. Vorthec networks began crashing as biological components died. Communication between alien worlds stopped working. Research teams studying alien ecology released modified bacteria into water treatment plants on Nexari worlds. The bacteria would make the water undrinkable for Nexari, but harmless to other species. On worlds throughout the galaxy, human civilians revealed themselves as military specialists. They disabled power grids, destroyed communication arrays, and captured important facilities. Years of careful planning came together in a single, devastating hour. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their monitoring stations reported simultaneous attacks across hundreds of worlds. Their communication networks were failing. Their supply lines were being cut. Their defensive positions were being overrun by people they had thought were harmless traders and researchers. Reports coming in from all sectors, Marcus announced. Phase 1 objectives achieved in 97% of target areas. Sarah watched the displays change as human forces revealed their true capabilities. The peaceful trading ships removed their disguises to show they were really warships. The communication satellites activated weapon systems that had been hidden for years. The research stations became military command centers. But the most shocking revelation was the scope of human coordination. Every action was perfectly timed. Every attack supported every other attack. The aliens found themselves fighting not separate human groups, but a single massive organism that stretched across the galaxy. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Hegemony Council, Marcus reported. Put it through. The main screen showed 4 alien faces. Each represented one of the species in the Hegemony Alliance. They looked confused and angry. Admiral Chun, the Krathen representative, spoke first. What is the meaning of these unprovoked attacks? Sarah smiled coldly. Unprovoked? You just attacked one of our colonies. That was a limited military exercise, the Vorthec representative sighed. A small test of defenses. It did not justify this massive response. You're right, Sarah replied. Your attack on New Geneva did not justify this response. But your attack was not the real reason for our actions today. The alien representatives looked confused. Then what is the reason? The Nexari asked. Sarah walked closer to the screen. 15 years ago, you started a war against humanity. You told us it was about territory and resources, but we discovered the truth. You were studying us, learning our weaknesses, planning to destroy us completely when you were ready. The Dolmac representative tried to speak, but Sarah continued. You tortured our people for research. You experimented on our prisoners. You thought you could learn all our secrets and then finish us off whenever it was convenient. Sarah paused and looked at each alien face. Today you learned something important about human nature. You learned that we can be very patient when we are planning revenge. The Krathen representative was angry now. You cannot sustain this level of attack. Your forces are spread too thin across too many targets. Are they? Sarah asked. She pressed a button and the display changed to show the current status of human forces across the galaxy. The aliens could see that human attacks were not slowing down. If anything, they were getting stronger. You studied how humans fight defensive wars, Sarah explained. You learned how we respond when we are trying to protect our homes. But you never studied how humans fight when we decide our enemy must be stopped permanently. Marcus stepped forward. Admiral, Phase 2 is ready for implementation, Sarah nodded. Begin Phase 2. Across the galaxy, the human attacks shifted into a new pattern. Instead of just disabling alien defenses, human forces began targeting infrastructure. Power plants, water treatment facilities, manufacturing centers, food distribution networks. Everything that kept alien civilization running. The aliens on the screen watched their status reports with growing horror. World after world was reporting critical system failures. Not from weapons that destroyed everything, but from precise attacks that made normal life impossible. You are attacking civilians, the Vorthek accused. No, Sarah replied. We are attacking your ability to make war. Your people will not die, but they will not be able to build weapons or organize military forces either. Elena stepped into view of the camera. Unless you force us to use more extreme measures. She held up one of the biological weapon devices. Dr. Vasquez has spent years studying your species, Sarah explained. She has found ways to target your specific biological weaknesses. We could release diseases that would kill every member of your species within months. The alien representatives were silent now. They were beginning to understand the scope of what was happening. But we do not want to become mass murderers, Sarah continued. We are giving you a choice. Surrender completely. And accept our... The hour passed slowly in the command center. Admiral Sarah Chun watched the screens that showed the chaos spreading across alien space. Power grids were failing on dozens of worlds. Communication networks had collapsed. Military fleets found themselves surrounded and cut off from their command structures. The aliens were learning what it meant to fight humans who were no longer holding back. Commander. Marcus Webb looked up from his communication station. Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from individual alien worlds, but nothing from the Hegemony Council yet. Sarah nodded. They are probably trying to figure out how this happened. How humans could coordinate such a massive operation without them knowing. Dr. Elena Vasquez was monitoring the biological weapon deployment systems. Admiral, should I begin Phase 3? The biological weapons are ready? Sarah looked at the timer on the main display. The hour was almost over. Not yet. Let us see if they are smart enough to surrender. With 2 minutes left, the main screen activated. The 4 alien representatives appeared again, but they looked very different now. The confident expressions were gone. Instead, they looked tired and defeated. Admiral Chun, the Krathan representative, spoke first. We have discussed your terms. And? Sarah asked. The Vorthek representative answered. We cannot accept complete surrender. Our people would never agree to it, but we are willing to negotiate new terms for peace. Sarah smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. You misunderstand the situation. I am not offering to negotiate. I am telling you what will happen. She pressed a button and the display showed the current status of alien civilization. Critical systems were failing everywhere. Food distribution networks had stopped working. Water treatment plants were shutting down. Manufacturing facilities were going offline. In 6 hours, most of your worlds will be without power, Sarah explained. In 12 hours, they will be without clean water. In 24 hours, they will be without food distribution. The Nexari representative looked angry. You are committing genocide? No, Sarah replied calmly. We are dismantling your ability to make war. Your people will live, but they will be too busy trying to survive to think about attacking anyone. Marcus stepped forward. But we can make it much worse if you force us to. Elena held up one of the biological weapon devices. These weapons would kill every member of your species. Within months. Admiral Chun is being merciful by offering you the chance to live. The Domak representative, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. What exactly do you want from us? Sarah walked closer to the screen. Complete disarmament of all military forces, destruction of all weapons manufacturing facilities, dissolution of the Hegemony Alliance. And most importantly, you will never threaten human space again. That would leave us defenseless, the Krathen protested. Yes, Sarah agreed, just like you plan to leave us. The alien representatives looked at each other. They were realizing that they had no good options left. And if we agree to these terms, the Vorthak asked, then we will help you rebuild your civilian infrastructure, Sarah said. We will provide food and medical supplies. We will help you establish new governments that focus on peaceful development instead of military expansion. Marcus added, but you will do it under human supervision. We will have monitoring stations on every one of your worlds. We will inspect your facilities regularly. And if you ever try to build weapons again. He did not need to finish the sentence. The threat was clear. The Nexari representative tried one more time. Our military commanders will not accept this. Some of them are already talking about fighting to the death. Sarah pressed another button. The display showed the locations of alien military bases across the galaxy. Every single one was surrounded by human forces. Your military commanders are welcome to try, Sarah said. But they should understand that we know where every one of them is located. We have been watching them for years. Elena stepped closer to the camera. And if they force us to use the biological weapons, their deaths will be much slower and more painful than a quick military defeat. The alien representatives were quiet for a long moment. They were clearly communicating with their homeworlds, trying to find some way out of the trap humanity had built for them. Finally, the Krathen representative spoke. We need more time to convince our military leaders. No, Sarah said firmly. You have had 8 years to prepare for this moment. We are not giving you more time to find a way to escape. She looked at the timer. You have 30 seconds to decide, complete surrender, or we begin biological warfare. The aliens looked desperate now. They had never imagined that peaceful, emotional humans could plan and execute something so ruthless and comprehensive. 15 seconds, Marcus announced. The Vorthak representative closed his eyes. We surrender. Complete and unconditional surrender. The other 3 representatives nodded reluctantly. They had no choice. Sarah felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness, victory, but at a terrible cost. Wise decision. You will transmit surrender orders to all your military forces immediately. And you will stop the attacks on our infrastructure? The Nexari asked. The attacks will continue until your surrender is complete, Sarah replied. But once your forces lay down their weapons, we will begin providing humanitarian aid. Over the next few hours, surrender messages went out across alien space. Some military commanders tried to resist, but they found themselves isolated and outnumbered. Human forces had been positioned perfectly to deal with any holdouts. The Krathen fleet that had attacked New Geneva was the first to surrender, surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. They had no choice but to power down their weapons. By the end of the day, it was over. The Hegemony Alliance had ceased to exist. 4 species that had terrorized the galaxy for decades were now completely at the mercy of the humans they had underestimated. Sarah stood in the command center, watching as human ships moved to secure alien worlds. It was not a conquest in the traditional sense. The humans were not taking territory or enslaving populations. Instead, they were systematically dismantling everything that had made the aliens dangerous. Admiral, Marcus said, we are receiving reports from all sectors. Alien military forces have surrendered. Their weapons are being collected and destroyed. Sarah nodded. And the biological weapons? Elena was already packing the devices back into their secure case. Not needed. I am glad we did not have to use them. Sarah walked to the main display and changed it to show a view of Earth, her home. Looked peaceful and beautiful in the darkness of space. Soon it would be truly safe for the first time in decades. Marcus, send a message to all human commanders, she ordered. Begin Phase 4 humanitarian aid and reconstruction. Marcus looked. Surprised? We are really going to help them rebuild? Yes, but they will rebuild as peaceful civilizations, not military powers. We will make sure of that. Sarah turned to address both of her colleagues. The aliens studied us for 15 years. They thought they learned our weaknesses. But they never understood our greatest strength. What is that? Elena asked. Humans do not just fight to win. We fight to create a better future. Even for our enemies, if they are willing to change. Over the following months, human forces across the galaxy began a massive reconstruction effort. They provided food to hungry alien populations. They rebuilt power plants and water treatment facilities. They helped establish new governments based on peaceful cooperation instead of military conquest. But they also made sure that no alien world would ever be able to threaten human space again. Every major facility was monitored, every significant technology transfer was controlled. Every political leader was carefully watched. The aliens had wanted to study human weakness. Instead, they had learned about human patience, human planning, and human determination. They had discovered that when humans decided something needed to be stopped, they would stop it completely and permanently. Dr. Vasquez established research stations on former alien worlds, but now her work focused on helping rather than harming. She developed new agricultural techniques to help feed alien populations. She created medical treatments for diseases that had plagued alien species for generations. Commander Webb created new training programs, but these were for peacekeepers, rather than soldiers. His people taught former alien military officers how to protect civilians instead of conquering neighbors, and Admiral Chun oversaw it all from her command center, making sure that the galaxy would never again see the kind of war that had consumed so many lives. One day, a year after the surrender, Sarah received a visit from a Krathan diplomat. He was young and had not been part of the old military leadership. Admiral Chun, he said, I wanted to thank you. Sarah was surprised. Thank me for defeating your people? For showing us a better way, the diplomat replied. Under the old system, we were always preparing for war, always looking for enemies to fight. Now our people focus on building and creating instead of destroying. Sarah nodded slowly. That was always the goal. We did not want to destroy your species. We wanted to stop you from destroying others. The diplomat smiled. My people are beginning to understand something about humans. You fight not because you enjoy war, but because you want peace, real peace. After he left, Sarah stood at her window looking out at the stars.